TSM's jungler.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Svenska and TSM's jungler. That was quite a long series for you guys to have to play, and I feel like playing against Rainover is always tough because he's such a strong opponent. Are there any differences at all playing on him now versus on Team Liquid versus Immortals, or is it kind of always some trouble?
I mean, I basically just have a lot of respect for Rainover because he's just super innovative in his jungle path, so he always knows, like, I always feel like I get behind when I'm against him because he knows the optimal paths really fast in the new metas. So, yeah, I just learn a lot, and compared to on Immortals, I guess, I mean, he just has, like, weaker lanes now, kind of, so it's hard for him to shine.
And kind of moving back to TSM's team structure in general, obviously Doublelift leaving does create some differences for the team, but particularly, I know he was quite a vocal voice on your team as far as leadership goes. Has that structure changed at all now that Doublelift moved out and Total's moved in?
Okay. Yeah, so last year we had, like, one-person shot caller where Doublelift would decide everything we did, so now that Doublelift's not here, we're trying to, everyone has more of a part in, like, the shot calling role, so at the start it's kind of hard because you see we're so clueless on, like, what to do because we have, like, 5 people not really knowing what to do at the different points in the game, so we end up doing nothing. So we're kind of, like, trying to improve on that, and hopefully we can get better.
And we know Bjergsen has sort of stepped up into that role, but as a jungler, you have a lot of early game influence. Are you stepping into more of a leadership role, or are you trying to kind of let the team share the whole responsibility?
I mean, I think we all just have to improve the thing. Like, I'm still trying to improve on the things I was weak at last year, so I'm not really, like, the shot caller or anything. I don't have those capabilities in my personality, kind of, so I'm just trying to, yeah, get better at what I was doing last year.
And of course, you've always been a strong jungler, arguably the best here in NA, but the jungle pool, as far as individual talent goes, seems very high this year. You have yourself, you have the rookies contracts and Arcadian coming up, you have Dardoch, who's a strong player, you have imports like Chaser coming in as well. What do you think of the junglers in general? Because it seems like North America is pretty stacked.
Yeah, I mean, definitely jungler is, like, the most contested role, kind of, in the NA, where it's like every team has a good jungler. There's not really, I don't think any team has, like, a weak one. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of jungle talent in NA right now, and I'm just trying to do what my team needs. So maybe I won't be the best looking jungler or whatever, but I'll be trying to, like, support my team.
Well, great to hear from you, Svenska. Congratulations on the win today. Thank you for joining me, but we're going to move it back over to the analyst desk to wrap up the day.
Thank you very much, Pace, for your time. TSM moving to 3-1, so things are looking up for them in terms of scoreline. The way they're getting there, still not the crispest of games, though, and we heard it from Svenska there. They're still trying to figure out exactly how to operate as a team from a shot-calling perspective with Doublelift out of the lineup.
Right, and I think it really does hamper the way that they like to play the game. I think they're trying to play the same style that they were known for in the summer split, which is very roam-heavy, especially snowballing through bot lane, but you're just, missing the voice of Doublelift, someone who was very good about setting up what he needed to get a dive off. At the same time, also the mechanical skill is probably a little lower on the side of Turtle, not as lane dominant. So not only is it harder to say what you need, but it's not getting set up as well through just lane dominance.
Now, I do have to say the one thing about this draft here that I've got to ask you about is this triple jungle ban strategy by TSM that they came out with in both Game 1 and Game 3 of the series here, but leaving Kha'Zix and Rengar on the table.
You got me. I don't know, because I understand the idea if you're going in with the assumption that they're doing the standard red side bans of LeBlanc, Rengar, Camille. Then you ban these 3 out, you take
only the
Kha'Zix available, and then, like, you're forcing the Lee matchup, which we've seen is pretty favorable for Kha'Zix. So
exactly.
It makes sense in that world. But here TL is not doing that. They're trading OP junglers, which I think is a fine strategy if you're not super concerned about one of the other picks.
Right.
And it just seems so strange to me that TSM stuck with this ban strategy. It didn't, like, TSM was the better team and they won, so it's hard to be like, this is a bad strategy.
Exactly.
But you look at it and you say, what was the impact? You basically just didn't ban the first phase.
Right, that's the thing, is that essentially those are throwaway bans because you're still leaving a perfectly viable option on the table for Rainover. Now, of course, things change if we have more insight into the way TSM thinks, and really they're just not threatened by Rainover's Kha'Zix in any way, shape, or form.
It could even be that they feel their champ pools are similar to TL, and they don't want to end up banning themselves out a little bit by throwing bans at the top and mid position. So I'm not 100% sure why they're doing this, but I hesitate to call it an effective strategy.
Right, and that's okay. It's okay to not be sure. I think everybody is still figuring out this new champion select, and this is just one iteration, one stab at it by one team. We'll see how that evolves throughout this split. Within the game itself, though, Bjergsen going off on that Azir, TSM, as you mentioned, liking to be able to make the rotations, had a very good composition set up for themselves that they could siege turrets with Varus, Azir, Maokai frontlining.
I think both teams had a lot of tools to start fights, and the fact that it was such a slow game speaks to the fact that these teams are not 100% on the same page, not 100% sure what they want to do. But the benefit that TSM had was that their comp sieges extremely well. So if both teams are stalling out, at least if we set up in front of your turret as TSM, we're going to come out ahead. And we saw that they were able to mow down a couple turrets like that.
I mean, you just look at his gold graph. Up until 35 minutes, it's essentially an even game, right? I mean, even at that 35-minute mark, it's a minimal gold lead for TSM at that point. So it really does show how, you know, whether or not it was just indecision and an inability to start fights or look for picks, there was that moment there where it becomes explosive, of course. For TSM, they get the edge, they pick up the first Baron. That's what's going to allow them to push in. And then even with a one team fight by Team Liquid there in the late game, triple inhib down, it's just such a tough thing to come back from.
Right, once you cede so much map control, it really doesn't matter. You have to win so many fights to stop them from taking your inhibs, so you finally reset the map, and then you probably need to win a Baron fight. And,
right.
And once you're down to 2 inhibs, and you lose that third one, it's basically game over. It's so difficult to come back just from how the map works.
Yeah, valiant effort by Team Liquid there in the late game. TSM comes out on top on the back of Bjergsen in that mid lane. 33k damage, as you can see. He'll be picking up player of the game here to close out the series. And again, the big picture here for TSM is that they're moving out of week 2 3-1. Just last week, after they lost to C9, the internet was in an uproar about, oh no, TSM is awful without double. If this, you know, what happened to this team? Well, now they're 3-1, so they're near the top of the table, and the only team they've lost to is the one that's pretty solidly considered the best team in the league.
Yeah, I said it before, TSM has made every single LCS split final. If you're worried as a TSM fan, you don't know their history, they'll be fine. Worst case scenario, Reggie steps in and carries the team again through his coaching and play. Who knows?
Right,
one of the two.
Yeah, one can only hope.
Yeah.
Well, with that win, TSM will be happy where they end up in the standings. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the standings to see how teams moved around after today's games. FlyQuest and Cloud9 continue to share first place. TSM currently have sole position of third place, while Phoenix One are alone in fourth. With their first match win, EchoFox brings themselves up to 5th place alongside CLG Immortals and Team Liquid. Team Dignitas finished the week in 9th, leaving Envy in last place. We still have 4 more matches before we conclude week 2. On NALCS 1, we start with Phoenix One versus Team Liquid. Then shortly after, Team Envy go against Immortals. And over on NALCS 2, Moon and FlyQuest meet EchoFox in the Battle Theater. Following that, Cloud9 look to keep the streak alive against Counter Logic Gaming. So in particular, I'm looking at matchups like Fox versus FlyQuest tomorrow, where Fox finally has a win under their belt. They're going to be feeling good with that kind of confidence. And against FlyQuest, a team that has struggled early, it might be the room, or the space rather, for Acadian to really take off.
Right, I think this is such an interesting matchup because it seems like Echo Fox's biggest weakness is their mid and late game shot calling, but their early game off the back of Acadian is phenomenal. By the same token, FlyQuest, little weak laners early game, and it's going to be this complete mash of styles where it's, can Echo Fox get control of the game and just keep it, or will FlyQuest be able to rip it back?
Right, of course. Then you got Team Liquid up against Phoenix One tomorrow. And Team Liquid now at that 1-2 mark, still really trying to scrap together some victories. I mean, can Reignover, lead the charge up against, say, Inori and the squad of Phoenix One with a struggling bot lane in Piglet and Matt?
It's really surprising because it feels like Team Liquid is always just off with one important member of their team. Sometimes Reignover's struggling, sometimes it's Golden Glue, and then recently Piglet and Matt, and especially Matt has not looked great. So I think they need to figure out exactly what they want to do with their bot lane and start drafting through there, because here we saw more mid lane priority. It looked better for Golden Glue, but it looked like it might have come at the cost of the bot lane.
Well, that's the end of our Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. We still have one more day of games to be played here in week 2. But for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.